and welcome to Borgcast Lower Decks episode 2.4 with Anne-Marie and Peter.
Hello!
We've got a previously on Lower Decks for What There Is No Tune.
Yes.
So now you have to make one up in your head. La 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 la.
All right, I replaced that with something better, hopefully. Yes, from an embarrassment to doublers, we heard from Andy that as well as being a cocktail, a slider is also a mini burger, named by US sailors because they were greasy and just slipped down. Wow, you can't beat a sailor's greasy slider. Now, that's confusing, having a cocktail and a burger called a slider, but there we are. Let's cover tonight's first episode, The Spy Humongous. Don't know why it's called that. Bit of a mystery, but there we go.
Well, no, because it's the big Packlid, isn't it?
He's not called Humongous, though.
No, but humongous means big.
Really?
And it's a play on the spy who loved me, the spy who came in from the cold. Instead of the spy humongous, it's the spy humongous as in really big because he's a Packlid.
Yeah, it doesn't work for me. But anyway.
It does for me.
Good.
Captain's log, stardate 58105.1. The Packlids continue their unprovoked attacks on Federation trade routes. Seeking a ceasefire, the Cerritos is on a diplomatic mission to the Packlid homeworld, which they call Packlid Planet.
So you have a captain's log, and I love this. A little bit later on, you have Shat's going, if you keep going around doing this like Picard, and I'm thinking, is he referring to all the bloody captain's logs? But actually, it's not. It's diplomacy. But you get a captain's log. They're at the Packlid homeworld that they call Packlid Planet for peace.
Packlid Planet.
For peace negotiations. And she's all like, it's going to be a real feather in my cap. And she gets down and they say, "Welcome, Janeway," which I love. It's brilliant. Meanwhile, they're talking about one of their guys has escaped, and they're saying he's a prisoner, we want him back, but he seems to be seeking asylum. And they're like, well, if we can't have him back, then you're not going anywhere. They'll keep Janeway captive. Meanwhile, there's a group on the Cerritos calling themselves the Red Shirts.
Because they're invincible.
Yeah, I like that.
The leader's nominally Ensign Casey, who we normally see at the con, who's played by Neil Casey, who was the Ghostbusters film recently. He was the creepy dude in that, the bloke in the basement.
Oh!
Yes, so that was a discovery. We also have Jennifer, the Andorian, who Mariner has a beef with, who's played by Lauren Lapkus, who was in Jurassic World.
Oh.
She was one of the characters in the control room.
Okay, yep.
And we also have Castro, who was mentioned in the previous episode. But Alex Zinti, which is something from the animated series, who's voiced by Fred Tatasciore, who also voices Shax.
Uh-huh. And on the surface, they seem like very Starfleety, very Red Squad rather than Red Shirts, don't they?
Yes.
That's totally what I made me think. And also the fact that they're all a little bit different, like the whatever you called it, Gazindi or something, is standing in for Nog, and do you know what I mean? And Paris, who isn't Paris, being the one with who's Casey, do you know what I mean? And it's all about, they want to be the best of the best. And so they're learning from other captains and giving speech-taking lessons and all sorts of weird shit. But it does seem very Starfleet and very believable.
Yes, it does.
Meanwhile, our lot have got what they call ACD, and I can't remember what it stands for. It basically means dealing with the officers' trash.
Anomaly collection
duty or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds it.
And they have to sort out all the crap that people have collected. Well, I don't know why they don't just go and stick it all in the captain's office after she accidentally gave away all her little trinkets from all her side missions in that previous episode. They should have just gone and filled her shelves up with all this crap, I think. Meanwhile, you've got Riker. What is his real name? He's not Riker.
No, it's Riker.
Right, you've got Riker and Kashon, who have been put in charge of the Packlid, who says things like, "I want to see your engines," and so they show him the gift shop. I like that.
Yeah, and it's Kashon getting lines again.
Yay!
I guess he's, I don't know, deputy security chief or something.
Yeah, that makes sense. You would need a deputy for all the key roles, wouldn't you? Something you might have more than one, arguably, but yeah, you still need one, which I like. And then Tendy's really enjoying herself with all this crap they're collecting, which, they end up stuck on the ceiling and covered in goo, and Tendy gets eaten by some kind of slug thing. And Mariner's getting fed up with all the fact that she's enjoying herself. Oh, at one point they mentioned nanobots again, which have they're in every Star Trek. I mean, they might not have been in the very, very first series.
Not in the not in the original series, but certainly for Next Generation.
Yeah,
almost.
they're in everything. And, and Mariner's like, no, these are not fun. They're eating all my fingerprints. And then meanwhile, while they're all getting covered in gloop, you've got Boimler being given a makeover. And he's having his uniform tailored to make it look like he's got pecs. And they're doing his hair. And when he does his speech, like just as him, it's all but then they're like, no, do it like Riker. And then he does a passable sort of Riker impression, doesn't he? And it's pretty.
It's got in his head transported to the bridge of the Enterprise D, which is lovely.
Yeah. Meanwhile, on the Pac-led planet, every time Freeman tries to talk to someone, they say that their helmet isn't big enough for them to negotiate. And then finally, you get someone who's like, I'm the queen. It's like brilliant. No, my helmet's not big enough. I'm the king. I'm the emperor. Then there's a revolution.
Yes.
But they seem to do it along the lines of Oliver Cromwell, because the guy who's leading the revolution then just takes the big hat for himself.
Yes.
Which is basically what Cromwell did.
Mm-hmm. But they fail to make any big helmet gags, which I think is a missed opportunity there.
Yes, just a tad. Whereas you get all of that in your episode, don't you? And then you get this thing about how they're saying the red shirts are saying to Boimler, you can't be friends with them anymore because you're going to be judged on who you hang around with or whatever. This isn't this is a starship, not a friendship. It's just like,
be a star.
Yes. Oh, fuck off. And you can see that Boimler's torn. Meanwhile, Tendi gets more and more angry having interacted with some cube thing and turns into a scorpion. And she's a really, really angry scorpion. And then you've got not Riker and Kaishon, and they're like looking for Rumdar and they can't find him. And they're like, shit, where's he gone? She's right at the point where Freeman's being told, we need to talk to Rumdar. We need to talk to Rumdar. And it's like, no, he's not available. And they see him out in space, just
floating past the window. It's brilliant. That got a big laugh.
That was amazing. And amazingly, he survives.
He's got a disco-like Cerritos t-shirt, which I love.
I like that.
And he went to an airlock thinking it was a toilet and
flushed himself out. It's just like, wow, that's amazing. And then Kaishon and not Riker were like, no, we didn't underestimate him. So then he lands on his planet and he's like, oh, I'm such a good spy. I didn't tell them any of my secrets. And so Captain Freeman's like, that's amazing. So what are these secrets that you managed not to tell? And then he's like, I never said anything about the bomb we're planting. So yeah, they then beam up and she's able to warn Starfleet. Meanwhile, Boimler goes to rescue Tendi. This is after the stupid fucking Red Squad people have all sort of gone in and tried to make speeches, which sort of, didn't do anything. Whereas Boimler worked out what the problem was, knew he had to make Tendi laugh. So he had a series of mishaps which made her laugh, which he knew would make her laugh after, in the very beginning of the episode, he managed to cover himself in breakfast. So he saves his friend, and he's like, no, I don't want to be one of you. I wanted to save my friend, And we're not, we are the crew. Because earlier on they were going, oh no, we are Starfleet. They just, look after us like snobby cunts. And he's like, no, we the crew is us. We're helping. And the other guys see through him, and they're like, no, I'm off to do something else. And then one of them starts talking to Boimler about, do you want to see a one-man show? And apparently this guy played all of Jupiter's moons.
Bizarre, yes.
Odd.
No idea what that's about.
But leaving cunt face on his own. And he's like, he says to Ransom, I'll volunteer for the acting captain duty. And Ransom clearly couldn't care less, just goes, yeah, all right. And then when it comes to it, he's like, acting captain for like 30 seconds between a shift change, and then he gets told to clear up the mess in the airlock that the Pac-led left, which I very much like. And then Tendi's apologising for putting them all on this ACD duty because she thought it would be fun, and Mariner apologises and says, no, don't, because actually we got something really good here. This allows you to communicate with people across space. And so they taunt Armus from Skin of Evil.
Yes.
Which is, I found that amusing. I quite liked that as an ending. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, overall, I enjoyed this episode. I loved the Pac-led spy.
The Pac-led stuff is the best. Yes, Keishon and not Riker dealing with him. That was the plot that really made me laugh. The rest of it was all right, but wasn't so funny.
I thought of the Pac-Led stuff as the A plot.
Yeah, I'm not sure that we're supposed to, actually. I think the A plot is supposed to be
the red shirts.
Tendi. No, I think it's supposed to be Tendi and the.
Oh, okay.
But it could be the red shirts. You're right. It could be Boimler and the red shirts. But anyway, either way, what I suspect is supposed to be B or C plots. Actually, the Pac-Led one is the best thing about it.
Pac-Led is great fun. I always found fucking Red Squad annoying and wanted to slap their faces in. So although the red shirt stuff didn't make me laugh, I really enjoyed it. It was satisfying as a plot. The rest of the stuff, what was going on with Tendi, was okay, but I didn't particularly find it amusing, apart from right at the end, Boimler asks for so many things out of the replicator, it just showers him with it and pins him to the wall. I thought that was funny. But yeah, Pac-Led stuff, absolutely brilliant, top notch. Very emotionally very satisfying, the red shirt stuff, as a response to fucking Red Squad. And the other stuff, it was okay.
Let's find out what Doreen thought.
Episode 6 of Lower Decks was really quite good, I thought. Well, relatively funny anyway. I really liked how the Pac-Led planet was just called Pac-Led Planet. The spy was pretty funny. The revolution was also funny. Well, in its ridiculousness. And Tendi trying to really enjoy the rubbish collection that she'd volunteered them for, and then she was the one who got the mood destabilizer or whatever, and she just turned into, well, Mariner, but a much better version of Mariner. The red shirts were also, well, they could have been annoying, but somehow the writers managed to make them not annoying. And Boimler was shown, like, how not to be, which was quite good. And the fact that he stepped away from the red shirts to help his friends, his proper friends, was the kind of Star Trek I like. But that's about all I've got to say about it. Thank you.
Cheers, Doreen.
Thank you.
I was like, she enjoyed the Pac-Led plot the most as well.
Yeah, but also as well the fact that Boimler steps away to help his friends. That's also the sort of Star Trek I like as well.
And it's nice seeing Boimler. I mean, over both tonight's episode, he's clearly making progress as a character, which is nice.
Yeah. Also, I hadn't thought of it, Tendi Scorpion effectively being Mariner, but
yeah, I'm not sure about that so much. Whether they meant that after recovering from it, then she became like Marion in terms of not wanting to do the job anymore.
Oh, okay, maybe. What did Sampo make of this?
Hello. So I just watched, what was the Spy Humongous? It's a pun, I just got it now, I said it out loud. Okay, so I liked this one. It was sort of fun all around. Let's see, so there was I guess it was the B plot, the Pac-Leds and the Pac-Led spy. I mean, the Pac-Leds are so stupid. It's funny in small doses, and I think the doses were small enough this time. Them insisting that Freeman was Janeway was funny, and the spy was so inept that, okay, like I said, worked in small doses, got a small chuckle out of me every time. But the main plot was, of course, the Lower Decks gang going through sort of relics from adventures of the officers, and the show writers showed lots of restraint for I mean, this was just like the Collector episode. This was again a chance for them to just cram it full of callbacks to old things. So at least I didn't recognize any of the items they had as anything else. So it was props to them. And of course, Boimler's being groomed to be an acting captain, and that was actually quite topical because I don't know if they're doing it on purpose or by accident. But I mean, there seems to be a lot of subtle stuff about the pecking order in Starfleet, and okay, it was a bit less subtle this time, but like the line, they work for Starfleet, we are Starfleet, or something, that was pretty on the nose. But I mean, the red shirt gang with the Kilrathi there, I guess. Luckily, I mean, they were sort of, maybe the weakest part of the episode was that they were so clearly assholes that, I mean, it was almost unrealistic that Boimler even went with them, but I guess he wants to be an officer, so that's the gag there. But at the end of the episode, we saw what the real officers actually value. I mean, they like the way that Boimler used the power of slapstick to fight the Scorpion Tendi, and the asshole who, okay, part where he got to be acting captain, it was very satisfying. So, yeah. I guess that would have been a bit too crossing the streams if when Boimler was doing his speech, he would have thrown a get the hell out of our galaxy in there or something. That would have been totally not okay, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I like this. Maybe the biggest thing here was that this sort of focused on the friendship of the four main characters, and that was nice. I mean, none of them were being actually nasty to each other, and they were clearly a good group of friends, and that was actually something and that I like watching a lot more than just Mariner being an asshole to everyone. So I like this episode, and it left a smile on my face. So what more can you ask? Let's see what the next episode name is, or even episode content. Okay, see you, bye.
Bye. Yeah, the Packlids, you're right, are funny in small doses, and the reason this is funny is because the doses are small enough.
Yes, we haven't had them in a couple of episodes, and this is probably the one that's featured them the most for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, none of it was too long. It cut away as well, even within the episode.
They weren't the A-plot either. So
yeah. So I think you kind of need both. Not in every episode, but also when they are in an episode, not relentless.
I mean, they could get dull very quickly, couldn't
Yeah.
they? Just being stupid, but, you know.
Yeah.
I just like the fact he flushed himself
That's
out an
brilliant.
airlock.
Airlock. They thought it was a humongous bathroom. That's just, yeah. That's great fun. I didn't recognise any of the items as being as a callback to anything, did you?
No, I don't think they were particularly.
So we think that maybe having done all of that with the Collector, that Sampo's right, that they've kind of gone away from that with this one.
Yeah, somebody suggested that the different crystals was actually a reference to your series we watched recently, Marvel TV series. Loki? Yes. Okay. I don't know if that's true or not, but yeah.
Oh, what, the different colours like the Infinity Gauntlet?
No, there was a drawer of random crystals in that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I thought, okay, fine, yeah. I don't know, possibly. And yeah, it is completely on the nose in terms of Starfleet and class, isn't it?
But as you said, that this is something that they have kind of touched on before with Red Squad.
Oh, no, that's totally what... I mean, I hope it was deliberate, but it's totally what I went to was Red Squad, who were all cunts.
Yeah, and I mean, that never seemed right in Trek either,
no,
so, you know.
No. And yeah, when you're watching a group of friends, it's enjoyable. When Mariner's just being an arse, it isn't. Mm-hmm. And so when you have the episodes like this one, where, I mean, she's understandably complaining, but there's not too much of it, and then they are still a group of friends at the end as she comes through, this is enjoyable. It's when she's just an arse and somehow everybody's supposed to accept that anyway, that's when the episodes don't work.
Let's find out what Llama God thought.
Llama log, Scutney, Fixion, Noi, Fixie Shear. The odds are against us. The situation is dumb. Alright then, this is a couple of great episodes here. I really enjoyed this too. The series has really found its stride now. After a very mediocre opening episode, it's really hit the ground running, and it's continuing to run, so it's hit the ground marathoning, or something, I don't know. But anyway, I really enjoyed this episode. There's a couple of strands. The first one, the mission to the Packlids, and I am loving the fact that Lower Decks chose the Packlids as the arch enemies of the Cerritos. I've said this before, but the Cerritos really aren't up to dealing with Klingons, the Tal Shiar, Romulan Empire, Borg, or anything like that. But the Packlids, that's kind of their level. And yeah, it's just such a perfect match. I mean, I've never thought of it myself, so it's great to see that happening here. And the whole thread with their Pakleds trying subterfuge, yeah, that's good. Subterfuge, and they're so rubbish at it, they don't even realise when it's going wrong, and they're being spied on themselves. Just absolutely wonderful. Not Riker giving Rumdar a tour of the ship and thinking that they've lost Rumdar, but he's actually accidentally spaced himself. I mean, that's just brilliant. Or trying to use the airlock as a toilet. Yeah, that's the kind of thing you wouldn't actually see Picard and co deal with. So yeah, this is absolutely a mission for the Cerritos. The solution to the whole story, with a revolution happening on the planet because they don't want to be ruled by anyone, but instead the leader of the revolution finds a giant helmet. It's with the helmets again. What is with all the helmets? They've got something about helmets, these people. It's almost like you could think it's some sort of knob joke, but from this writing team, what's the chances of that? Eh? And the fact that Freeman herself manages to trick the Pakleds into giving away their secret plan, it's just perfect. Absolutely love this. It's a battle of wits where neither side is in full possession of any actual wits, but yeah, I love to see that one. On the Cerritos, the lower decks gang are actually getting to do some lower deck stuff with tidying up, with cleaning up after themselves, except for Boimler, who gets to go off to the Red Shirt Club because it makes them sound invincible. Yeah, I love that line as well. And this is another instance of the show dealing with one of the things that we've seen in other episodes of Star Trek, which is there are people in Star Trek who are the best of the best of the best because they're red shirts, so they're best of the best, and just showing how much of a bunch of arse this whole thing is. I mean, yeah, Boimler getting his makeover, delivering his speech in the Cerritos' theatre, very much for Next Generation there, wasn't it? Yeah, love to see all of that. But at the end of the day, he discovers that it's actually not just being about the best of the best and giving speeches and stuff, it's actually his actions that save the day. Yeah, lovely little subplot there. And also, the whole idea of having to clean up hazardous artifacts. I mean, you think of the shit that the Enterprise D picked up week on week, and this is not an Explorer class, this is a second contact ship. I would not like to have been doing this job on the Enterprise D. But yeah, some great consequences, some great weird little trinkets, and Tendi being a giant scorpion. Yeah, absolutely great. As with every episode, this has got plenty of visual gags and Easter eggs. My favourite was when they're emptying the lab, is that they've got the little flashy red light thing that goes back and forth and does nothing. You know, the one that appeared in every science fiction show and famously showed up in Airplane 2. So yeah, this was a great fun episode. We got to learn something about the characters as well, who Boimler is actually becoming, and again, more interaction between Tendi and Mariner. Yeah, there's some good stuff going on here. So yeah, very much enjoyed this one. So yes, on to the next episode then.
I didn't spot that prop. I know exactly the one you mean. It's in an episode of Deep Space Nine and at least one episode of Next Gen. And it's sort of two tubes with red lights that go...
Yeah, it's there in Star Trek 2 as well.
Yeah.
I can't say I spotted it either, but anyway, yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
And yeah, you're right. The Pakleds is the arch enemy of the Cerritos. It works, doesn't it? They wouldn't take on like the Romulans or something, but this works. And yes, it makes sense that they're clearing up other people's shit. I'm just kind of surprised that so far our lower decks gang haven't had holodeck duty.
It was mentioned, wasn't it? That was one of the things they gave Mariner.
Oh, was it?
To try and get her to leave the ship.
Right.
Yeah.
Holodeck cleanup. What did Parry make of this?
Hello, Args. Parry here to talk about the spy Humongous. This was much more along the lines of what I expected Lower Decks right at the start. Effectively, we see the Lower Deckers doing something while the main crew are actually doing something largely disconnected. In this case, the main crew have their own A and B plot, with Freeman down on the planet with Shax, negotiating with the Pakleds, which was quite fun, just with the, no, I do not have a big enough helmet for this. I mean, I'm finding they're having a lot of fun with the Pakleds, and it's not getting old yet, so well done to them for, I think, finding the balance in that. And meanwhile, a Pakled on the ship is seeking asylum, and I love that guy. They're sort of idiot spy. Also, the fact that they call Freeman Captain Jamie is fun, but we also got to see a bit more K-Shawn. It was Ransom and K-Shawn up on the ship, dealing with the spy, and I love the fact that the ship's got a gift shop, and that we're just keeping him distracted. I mean, that's almost a cosplay idea. If I could get the t-shirt and hat, and some kind of vague Pakled makeup, maybe some dark trousers, I could just... I'm not going to DST this year, sadly, but get, just wander around going, show me your warp core, and taking photos of my feet with a wrist camera. I think that could be quite fun. But the actual plot, I mean, this is the thing, this is just going on in the background. This is effectively, I mean, to us, this is the C and D plots. The A and B plots are that the most of the gang, and again, it's like they're mixing up the groupings a bit, because this is Rutherford, Tendi and Mariner are having to collect all the crap that the bridge crew take from planets. But Boimler cries off it to go with the Red Shirts, a group who want to train to be captains. Now, I've got an objection with Boimler doing this. It didn't ruin my enjoyment of the episode, but I wonder if episode sequencing would have been better. because just in the last episode we had Mariner kind of talking about how she worries that people will abandon her, that they all get promoted and leave, and I thought kind of Boimler had kind of an understanding, but no, he ditches the group the first time a group who might get him command come along, and I thought I think it just makes him look not as good. Although one of the things that came from it was, if you look at it, Boimler was actually the better captain out of the group. I'm not saying he's maybe a good captain, but he was perhaps the better performing one. He was the one who, and it's a thing that I've noticed over the past few episodes, but particularly this one, Boimler actually knows stuff now. If you think about it, he's the one who knew what, like a lot of the things did. He was warning them about, watch that thing, it fires a big purple glob, and they're like, yeah, we know. And when Tendi turned into a giant mantis, he was the one who knew what had turned her into the giant mantis. He was like, was it an orb? No, it was a cube. Oh yeah, I know what this is. So actually, Boimler's beginning to look quite competent, and he's not always like an idiot. So I thought this kind of some interesting development there, and just the sort of comedy of the random stuff, and yes, sort of Tendi slowly getting ground down by both the bad mood of her crewmates and the fact that this is a rubbish job. And that no one's happy with it was quite good. And yeah, the red shirts were fun. Is that Jennifer the Endorian again? I like the fact that there were, I think just about all of them are people we've seen kicking about. We've seen them in the background. They've been in, definitely that big Cation's been in shots. So I liked that idea. And yet, but when it came to actually a crisis, they're doing speeches. And I mean, I've worked with people like this. The idea that they're somehow above it. No, we are in Starfleet. They work for Starfleet. Oh yeah, I've worked with people like that who have that attitude of, oh no, I'm above it. Yes, these people do the job, but I am part of the organisation. And yeah, I think they're a cut above. And indeed, if you looked at the guy got his bridge crew time, which I thought was hilarious. It was 5 seconds before Shax came in and said, "Get out of my chair." And meanwhile, Boimler actually got a, hey, good, this is a good job, Boimler. And I think, I still reckon Boimler was Ransom like 10 years ago. So I think it's why Ransom seems to quite like him. I think he sees a lot of himself in it. But that's just my own fan theory. So yeah, I enjoyed this. Lots going on in it, and just some really nice visual gags through a lot of it. So yeah, good stuff. So I'll be back in a bit to talk about the next episode, whose name I can't remember, but we'll remember it before I start the episode. But until then, bye for now.
Bye. If you can't remember the name of the episode, it's called My Bum is a Peach.
No, it isn't. But yes, brilliant cosplay idea, that.
Yeah,
yes.
Excellent. Taking photos of your feet. That'd be great. And yeah, I love the fact it had a gift shop as well.
Yeah.
I like that.
I say it just reminds me of Disco, which clearly has one as well.
Oh, so. Yeah. And yes, it did initially look bad that as soon as he got the opportunity, Boimler was like, I'm with these people, and leaves his friends. But he learns his lesson by the end, which is important. And you're right, Boimler does know stuff now. And you see that again in your episode as well. Yeah. We're seeing character growth, which I like. And I did like the whole good job, Boimler. Get from Not Riker.
And the fact, as you said, that the red shirts are characters that we've either heard of or at least all seen before.
Yeah,
works nicely as well. So it's just building up that sort of cast of the ship really nicely. So.
Yeah, it's nice, well building.
Yeah, and we get a bit more of that in the next episode as well, which is Where Pleasant Fountains Lie. Bit of a wanky title, but it's from Shakespeare. So what are you going to do? From Venus and Adonis, apparently. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Well, it's not Latin.
It isn't, no.
They should actually have an episode of Lower Decks called Latin.
Possibly.
Okay, team, listen up. Some of you might have heard that my mother's back on the ship. Now, we all know the score. Please don't fall for one of her deceptions.
Wait, what deceptions?
Mother is the queen of Hesperia, my homeworld. When I joined Starfleet, I abdicated my birthright as prince.
Hesperia. Oh, that's the planet with the dragons that got colonized by all those Ren Fair types. Did you grow up in a castle?
Yes, but a life of mythical adventure can't compare to working on the old impulse engine, which is exactly why my mom is always trying to trick me into having sex.
Sorry, what now?
By Hesperian law, if I lose my virginity, then I automatically become king. I'd have to resign from Starfleet and take the throne.
The Cerritos crew have taken a computer called Agimus captive, who has caused a century of warfare on the planet. It almost tricks Not Riker into reconnecting it, but then it does speak in the sylvan tongue of
Jeffrey Combs.
Yes. so distinctive that even Amory recognised him.
Oh yeah, his voice is imminently recognisable. He's the only person who, having seen him play, I can't remember which one it was first out of Brunt and Wayoon, and I automatically recognised him in the different
that's a
makeup.
good one. I think it may have been Wayoon first, but could be wrong. Yeah.
But I automatically knew who it was in the other makeup. Only time it's ever happened. I'm usually shit at recognising people when they're in alien makeup, but that voice is so distinctive, I knew who it was.
Yeah, he's the man of 1,000 Trek alien faces. I don't know if this counts as them hiring a Deep Space Nine actor, because he was also in Voyager and Enterprise. So.
Yeah, I don't know who he was in Voyager, but in Enterprise he was Shran, the Andorian, and I liked that
He was
character.
one of the good things about Enterprise, wasn't he? Yes. Then they're hailed by Queen... now, is this Paolona?
Paolona. That way you pronounce it right.
Okay, if that's how you pronounce it. I'm not sure I'm going to be singing it every time, though. Voiced by June Diane Raphael, who is married to Paul Scheer. Who's Paul Scheer, you ask? Well, he's the guy who voices Chief Engineer Andy Billups. Oh, this is all a bit incestuous, isn't it? Or Oedipal, possibly. Because, yes, it turns out that Paolina is Billups' mum. Right. But, yes, this is kind of a Billups-centric episode, which is wonderful.
Are we going to get one on your fave dude?
Stevens.
Yeah.
I doubt it. I think Stevens is too much of a secondary character to get an entire episode based on him, but yeah. Boimler is polishing his phaser rifle for now. He explains it's better than the regular phaser due to requiring two hands, which isn't the complete truth, because according to the Next Generation Technical Manual, they have higher settings, the rifles, but they are. I guess that's not such a funny gag.
Yeah, no, made me think of double Polaroid.
He's in preparation for a bug hunt, but then gets reassigned at the last minute to be with Mariner on transport duty. The Cerritos docks with the Queen's ship, the Monaveen, which is kind of like the Enterprise E, but covered in dragon scales.
Yeah,
which is nice.
and gold weirdness.
Lots of bling.
Yes.
We learn that if Billups loses his virginity, he automatically becomes king of his homeworld, which he's trying to avoid. Transporting Agimus to the Daystrom Institute, Mariner and Boimler crash on a planet. The computer keeps offering to help, and they keep wisely saying no. Rutherford accompanies Billups aboard the Monaveen to conduct repairs. It's decked out in medieval style, complete with chandeliers full of candles. The bridge has a command throne.
I love that.
The engine is shaped like a dragon's head, and the chief engineer is a blacksmith.
I love that. And later on, they jam signals with a guy on the lute.
Yes.
That's just amazing. I love that.
It's all completely illogical, but it looks fantastic, so I forgive it.
It looks amazing, and I just love it as a... There is a
daft
whole...
concept.
subgenre, probably, rather than genre, of, I don't know that we've necessarily seen it in films, but I've definitely read it in books, of science fiction as magic. Mm-hmm. And how it's
this goes all out on it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it just really does. And then some, and I love it. I think it's brilliant.
Mariner and Boimler are struggling because the shuttle's replicator will only dispense black licorice.
Oh, that is horrible. I hate it. It's wrong.
And then the local fruit tastes of it too.
Yeah.
Agimus's constant attempts to get them to connect him to the shuttle's computer results in them burying him, only for him to be rescued by crabs. Not often you get to say that. But the computer then reveals that it was Mariner that got Boimler reassigned.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yes, exactly. Bradwood challenges her over it, and she points out he can't even deal with a manipulative computer. Having fixed the Monaveen's engines, Billups is pleased to get some praise from his mum, but then she seemingly gets blown up with Rutherford, leaving her son to have to take on the throne, and to Anna to break the news to Tendi. Which he's like,
oh yeah, she's so upset.
I mean, you know he's not really going to be dead, but again, this series can move you because you actually care about these characters.
And I think one of the reasons it's so moving is it's not just the way that, not just Tendi's reaction, which is moving, it's to Anna's reaction as she has to break the news to Tendi as well. That adds to it.
Yeah. Having found a ship which could get them off the planet if they give in to Agimus, Boimler and Mariner fight, and he phases her, taking the computer on board and connecting it. Billups resigns to take up his throne, necessitating some copulation. Will it hurt? He asks. Tendi locates Rutherford's implant and finds him feasting with the Queen. Having had the scam to get Billups to lose his beloved virginity explained, Sam goes to hail him, but their communicators are jammed by a lute player.
I love that. That's just so amazing.
He has to run because the Queen's guards are trained from birth to skip foreplay.
I love that.
Apparently threesomes the Hysperian way as well. Thankfully, Billups hasn't been able to get his bill up, so all is well.
But then it's logical that he wouldn't if he really didn't want to.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? It's that makes sense.
Meanwhile, Boimler has tricked Agimus into sending out a distress signal while all he had control of was the light dimmer.
Switch. I love that.
I will blind you.
Flick, flick.
They get rescued and the computer's imprisoned along with a whole wall of evil computers.
Love that. Brilliant.
One of which apparently has the CBS logo on it. I wouldn't have known that had that not been pointed out to me.
CBS?
They're the channel that show this in the States.
Oh,
and
okay.
Also the channel that make it as well. So
I did recognise one logo thing, but I don't know what it was from.
Aha.
It was sort of like a face.
Right. In a lovely continuity shot, the Daystrom Institute looks exactly as it did in Picard.
I like that.
So yeah, it's okay. The medieval spacefaring
I
society
love that. That's
is
just
silly
brilliant.
but fun.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's logical. I just loved it. It was taking the idea and playing it to the max. And at one point, you get early on, Billip's talking about the dragon flame, and then Rutherford's like, the what now? And he says something perfectly normal.
Yeah.
And it's I like that. And then just the loop player was just that for me. That was the icing on the cake. I'm like, brilliant. I love it.
And again, it's nice to see Boimler progressing, which is grand. So yes, another good one.
Yeah, and I thought that the Queen was kind of like the inverse of Luoxana Troy, and that Luoxana is always coming along, belittling her child, Deanna, but she's the one who wants all the sex. Whereas this time, she comes along, she's belittling her child, but she wants her child to have all the sex.
Ah, nice thinking. But what did other people think?
What did Dory make of this one?
Episode 7 of Lower Decks, Where Pleasant Fountains Lie. Another good one. The poor engineer guy getting confronted with his mother every couple of months, it appears. But he keeps wanting to give her a chance, obviously. And he just wants her approval. And then Tendy's confronted with the fact she thinks Rutherford has died. And then everything works out all right at the end. Very Lower Decks, I suppose, and quite good. This is 2 episodes this fortnight that haven't annoyed me. It's quite amazing. I'll leave it there, though. It was really good with all the tropes and the mum trying to make the son into what she wanted them to be. Quite good. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hi. Yes, you're right. There isn't anything annoying. And that's 2 episodes in a row. That's, yeah.
And they weren't even all going all out with the references either.
No.
Armus being about the only one that springs to mind straight away. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
Let's see. Sampo, what did he make of this one?
Hello, and here's some feedback for Where Pleasant Fountains Lie or whatever it was. So, yeah, I think this was another fun episode. So there was an A and B plot, and they have absolutely nothing to do with each other. No connecting tissue whatsoever. So let's handle them separately. So the one of the plots has Mariner and Boimler delivering an evil computer to the Daystrom Institute. Again, a trope. Some sort of lower civilization worshipping a computer. This time, I guess it wasn't enough to put a do not worship sign there. But yeah, they crash and have to survive. And of course, with tensions running high, Mariner and Boimler still clearly have some unfinished business, or let's say issues to resolve. And it's actually nice to get some development for their relationship. And the script really had me going. I really thought Boimler was a complete idiot trusting the computer and stunning Mariner. But actually, all credit to the writers, the twist was very good that Boimler was actually fooling the computer and only attached it to the dimmers, which was great. And yes, Mariner was really sort of out of line when he sort of got Boimler out of the more dangerous mission. I mean, she might be right, but, well, never find out now. I mean, but yeah, but at least, again, she got some comeuppance when Boimler actually sort of saved the day. Also, I find it funny that the replicators could only replicate licorice. I like licorice, but if it's the only thing you can eat, then, well, what can you do? Then the other plot, okay, it focused on Billups, and I have to admit this really wasn't what I expected of a Billups-centric episode. So it turns out that Billups is a prince, or former prince, because he wanted to join Starfleet from a civilization that likes to be medieval, another Star Trek trope. They've renamed all of their technology according to dragons or medieval things like that. And the only way that Billups would become king is if he lost his virginity. And I mean, the whole setup is so ridiculous that her mother is trying to get him to lose his virginity. And okay, I'm sure everyone saw it a mile away that the explosion was just a ruse to get him to have a very, there was a male and a female god. I mean, I guess either it was a threesome or they allowed him to pick and choose, but which is very more open-minded that Star Trek is generally, at least in the TNG era. But never mind. So yeah, and I mean everything about I can't remember their name, but the species with the dragons and all that. I mean, it just cracks me. I mean, the guy playing the lute who disturbs communications, he just totally cracked me up. I can't explain why. And okay, while this was basically a Tendi and Rutherford subplot, they were almost sort of a non-factor in it. I mean, they could be replaced by anyone and it wouldn't have changed anything. But never mind, I mean, it was fun. So, yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. Nothing more to it. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I think it had to be Tendi and Rutherford because whilst, you never for a minute think that Rutherford's actually dead, the fact that Tendi clearly loves the pants off him and is so remote, that scene has real impact as a result, whereas it would just been an other crew person or Stevens. Nobody would have been bothered, let's face it, if it had been Stevens.
Yeah.
Especially not even Ransom, I don't suppose.
No, whereas, it matters to us that it's Rutherford, but it matters more to Tendi.
Yes, that's it, and that gives you the emotional oomph.
Yes, it does. Yeah, it definitely wasn't what you would have expected from a Billups episode, is it, before you watched it?
Out of nowhere, but fun all the same.
And I fell for the twist as well. I thought that, Boimler's anger, justifiable, against Mariner was making him trust the computer. And
let's face it, season 1 Boimler would have made the mistake.
Yeah.
So, again, it's showing his progress.
And she might have been right. Maybe he couldn't have handled the giant centipede, but it wasn't her place.
Yes, that's very annoying of her, but...
Yeah. Also, something I forgot about licorice, but remembered just now when you mentioned it, it's a laxative. So it would make them even more dehydrated.
Oh, yes, that's not pleasant. I'm a red licorice man, personally. I much prefer it to black, but there we go.
But that wasn't an option.
No, sadly not. And yes, mad computers so much of a trope that they've got a whole wall of them in the Daystrom Institute.
Brilliant. Yes. And the other thing with the threesome, it could have been a threesome, it could have been pick one, it could have been either. But this is the first time we've seen Trek so open-minded.
Mm-hmm.
Because no more Rick cunting Berman.
Yay!
What did the Llama God make of this?
Llama God's log, supplemental. Daisy, give me your answer, do. Right then, we've got one of the classic tropes from those old scientists, and that is the civilization that's ruled by a supercomputer that's made the populace worship it as some sort of god or something. And it's great. I'm really glad to see them taking on that trope here, and they do it so very well. With an evil supercomputer played wonderfully by Jeffrey Combs, which makes it yet another Star Trek series that he's been in. He just kind of needs to be in Picard now to kind of give him the next generation credentials, and then, has he been in Discovery yet? I can't remember. I don't think he has. But he's been in all the series that he can be, and I'm glad they saved him for this role because it is perfect for him. I absolutely loved him as the evil Agimus, and that's a great name as well. And again, Mariner and Boimler have to escort it back to the archives because I don't know why they couldn't just put it in stasis or something, but it's a logical loophole that's needed to make the plot work. And I'm not going to complain because the shuttle crash on an alien planet with an enemy, that's a plot that's been done, but we've never had anyone being dug up by crabs before. And the fact that we learned that Mariner didn't want Boimler to go on the mission because she didn't think he was ready, and then Boimler's showing actually how far he's advanced. And this time it's not a trick from Mariner. If you remember remember last season where Mariner paid off a Ferengi to try and make Boimler think that he was smarter than he actually is. Yeah, but here Boimler actually saves the day by tricking the supercomputer. Yeah, absolutely great. Yeah, that's great. That shows some growth from Boimler. And yeah, we see some stuff about the characters, and there's just some wonderful gags along the way as well. Especially like the fact that the Federation actually has a special prison just for evil supercomputers. I mean, I guess they must meet a fair few, so yeah, I guess it's a thing to have. I mean, of course, you do have to wonder whether they actually ever attempt to rehabilitate those computers or whether they'll just remain evil forever, and what exactly it is that the Daystrom Institute is going to do with them. Although I don't really think we're going to see anything tie into the robot revolution that's hinted at in Picard. Or maybe we will. It's because of the concentration of all these supercomputers. Is that the explanation for it? Interesting. And then there's the other thread, which was also great, where we hero and learn a lot more about Billups, or Prince Billups. Absolutely fantastic. Discovering that he is actually the prince of a world that is just Renaissance fair cosplayers who give everything dragony names. I mean, this is just such a great... I can't quite decide if it's a original series or Next Generation thing, but yeah, it's exactly the kind of idea that you could see popping up in one of those shows. But with the budgets they'd have had, they wouldn't be able to realise it quite as well. And again, this is one that looks great for animation. I loved the look of the Queen's Royal flagship. It's such a great, fantastical design. Still looks like a ship from the Star Trek universe, but it's just a wonderfully retro design. The fact that Billups has to remain a virgin because otherwise he becomes king, yeah, just that's a ridiculous idea. Yeah, so as I said at the start, these are a pair of really good episodes. We get some character bits, we get some funny bits, we get some utter nonsense. Yeah, it's a great mix, and Lower Decks is doing great with this, and I hope they continue for the rest of the season, which is only, what were we now? 3 episodes left. Oh dear, that's going by a bit too quickly, but never mind. Of course, and I've not actually listened to your more recent podcast, unfortunately. Yeah, sorry, a bit behind on this for a number of reasons. But yes, this does reopen the debate about uniforms. I don't know if you settled it, but here it comes again, because obviously Mariner and Boimler are rescued in a runabout, crewed by Starfleet officers that are wearing the Deep Space Nine First Contact style uniform. My theory on this is that Starfleet, and indeed the Deep Space Nine crew, adopted that more hard-wearing, chunkier uniform over the cleaner Next Generation style uniform when basically they went onto a war footing, first against the Borg, and then during the whole Dominion War. It's kind of a sturdy uniform that you could wear to combat. It would survive a lot of encounters, and it has so many layers that you could survive if you found yourself in a hostile environment. So that's why they adopted it. Now that they're no longer at war, this is post-Dominion War, it makes sense that smaller ships like the California class that are on second contact duty are not doing the kind of rough and tumble work. They're back to doing more scientific work. They can go back to using the sort of cleaner, simpler uniforms, whereas those on the Titan who are still on the front line, such as they are, or those doing missions into hazardous territory, they're still going to keep the First Contact era style uniforms. It makes a degree of sense to me. And yes, as to the Admirals not using the Deep Space Nine style uniforms, again, it's because they're now back to sitting behind a desk. They're not likely to be out leading a fleet into battle, so yeah, they can go back to the more showier Next Generation style or / Lower Deck style uniform. So yeah, it kind of all does work for me. I know it won't for you, but I can kind of make a bit of sense in my head. So yeah, that's my attempt. I'm sure it will all be undone. So yes, as ever, I'm looking forward to hearing what everyone else made of these. Hope that everyone in this country anyway is excited and ready to join our new galactic empire, or whatever the fuck it is. I don't know. And until next time, glory to you and your cast.
Yeah, well, we found out in Embarrassment of Duplers, didn't we, that it was a status thing. So some ships get the First Contact uniform because they're special in some way, and yeah, that's the explanation they've given anyway. But yes, it'd be great to see Jeffrey Combs in Picard or Disco, or both for that matter.
Oh yeah, yeah, he could be in both, but be completely different, and it would be awesome. Actually, could they link in to Jeffrey Combs in the Daystrom Institute as an AI into Picard?
Theoretically, I
that would
suppose.
be awesome. The same character.
But, yeah.
No, but it would be awesome. and then he could be something completely different in Disco, like a cowboy or something.
I guess. Wow. Okay. Well, anyway, let's find out what Perry thought of this episode.
Hello again, Parry here to talk about Where Pleasant Fountains Lie. Now, first on this, yay, it's Jeffrey Combs. Always a good voice, although it did mean that we had an evil computer that sounded like Wayne. I think that is clearly him going for his evil, but no, I really loved hearing him, and the evil computer core was a perfect part. I quite like that actually at the beginning, you'd be surprised how common it is that people, let a computer take them to war. At least you weren't worshipping it like a god, and they're kind of embarrassing and looking at the frescoes. So yeah, I quite like that, and we had our more traditional pairings here, except technically not, because actually Rutherford was really teamed with Billups, and it was actually technically his B-plot. So of course our A-plot is Boimler and Mariner stranded on a planet with an evil computer core that wants to be plugged into any nearby technology to turn it evil, and they kind of slowly complaining. And again, you do have this thing of, arguably you could see here that Mariner is getting rubbed up the wrong way, that perhaps Boimler isn't as sort of, what's the word, kind of easily led. But I did actually like the fact that, again, it wasn't a Mariner was right. I think they're not making her flawed per se, but they're not making her always right. And like I say, Boimler gets to be right. We've had other characters get to be the one in charge, so I wonder if there was like some criticism received by the showrunners, and I think it really works a bit better, for all that Boimler does still act like an arse at times and make an idiot of himself. In this one in particular, he was the one who'd fooled it into opening its battery pack and plugged it into the dimmer switch, which I quite liked at the end after it went and tried, "Ah, you fools." The other plot, so we got a really weird looking spaceship, and I kind of like the idea that they talked about this medieval planet, and the fact that they call, because I think it's Billups' mum, it turns out to be queen of a planet, and he's a prince, but only he has to take the throne if he loses his virginity, and she keeps trying to fool him into it. It was quite a fun plot, but there's the whole idea of, no, they do everything medieval style, and their ship's all medieval styled, and they don't call it warp plasma, they call it dragon's breath and that sort of thing, and you can see why Billups wants to get out of there, because it's patently ridiculous. And yeah, there was a whole sort of, briefly, I mean, you felt for Tendi when she thought Rutherford was dead. She was kind of really upset by it, and all the time he was actually sitting there having a big meal, even though at the end I quite liked you. What? Are you kidding? I got to fix a whole new engine, I got to have a feast, and he got to save Billups' virginity, because I liked the whole way the guards were set for Maximus. It was quite weird, that B-plot, but quite enjoyable nonetheless. I'd say, actually, the only thing with this one is there's not too much to say about the individual beats. I, for one, like licorice, so I didn't see their problem with that, although I suppose after a while you would probably get sick of it, but that's just me. And yeah, the fact that they have to eat the fruit that tastes of licorice, I thought that was quite good, just the sort of, everything on this planet, just they're on a terrible planet, so yeah, and again, just some good interplay with the characters. And yeah, a bit more Billups. We've not really seen much of him this season, and I liked the fact that they kind of brought up this bit of his past, and the fact that he could be a prince, but he really likes being an engineer. I can relate to that, except I'm not a prince or a particularly good engineer, but still. So yeah, this was overall enjoyable stuff, and again, this is for those of you who don't like it leaning. It wasn't actually leaning too heavy on the references either, so. I love the references personally, so overall I thought good fun all round. So all the remains me to say is do keep up the good work. I always look forward to the podcast, and I'll feed back in the next one, but until then, bye for now.
Bye, sir.
Bye.
Yeah, it was great to have a Billups-centric episode.
Yes.
Excellent stuff.
Yeah. And I like the fact that Rutherford did actually appreciate Tendi pushing / encouraging him to do new things, because she was all apologising for everything, and then he's like, "No, I'm glad you did. I had so much fun. It was amazing." And yeah, that was nice. I liked that.
I also like the fact that Mariner is really praising Boimler for having fooled the computer at the end. It's like, you're actually pulling off some of my type moves. So yeah. Yet again, Mariner improving as the season goes on.
Yeah. It's just such a shame they sort of reset it for season 1.
Yes, let's hope they don't do it again. But anyway.
Don't. And what I'm hoping is that this will be a series with a deliberately limited run, so that they stop before they run out of ideas.
Yes, you don't want this to go on forever, yeah.
And they stop when Boimler is promoted, but on the Cerritos.
Mm-hmm.
That's my hope, that they don't do he's promoted and demoted again, but that they'll find a way to get him promoted out of Lower Decks because he deserves it, and then that's the end.
Grand. Well, thank you to everybody who's fed back.
Thank you.
I think it's interesting for a change. We're all singing from the same hymn sheet.
Yes.
Everybody enjoyed both these episodes.
Yeah.
That's great. But yes, next time we'll be covering the next 2 episodes.
My Bum is a Peach?
Nope. We're recording on Wednesday the 13th of October, by the way, and covering episode 8, which is I Excretus, which I joked it was a bit of a poo title. So I have no idea where they're going with that. And yes, episode 9, the not yet announced episode title.
My bum is a peach.
I'm going with Hide and Poo. I'm going to continue with the Poo theme.
My bum is a peach.
I prefer Hide and Poo personally. But
Or Latin.
Yes. And then just to let you know, plenty of advance notice, episode 10, the last in the season, we'll be covering on Tuesday the 19th, squeezing it in before we move and hopefully getting uploaded before packing everything away.
Because we don't know how long we'll be without internet once we move, because we're hoping to change provider.
Yeah. So there we go. That's what to expect from the future from us. We're still no idea. I like the fact that they're not announcing these episode titles, from the beginning. It keeps you guessing. Whereas some series you can kind of work out. I think Doctor Who, they kind of all the episode titles except for the last one they announce, don't they? Generally, and it's like, oh. But anyway, this is much more fun.
Yeah.
Take care, folks. Cheery, bye.
Bye. The art for Borgcast Lower Decks is the fantastic work of Charlie Thorburn.
All music referenced is for illustrative purposes only, and no copyright infringement is intended.
Find our website at borgcast.libsyn.com.
We have a Facebook group which you're welcome to join.
You can find the Borgcast playouts on Spotify for your listening pleasure.
Visit our Tumblr site at borgcast.tumblr.com, where you'll find images accompanying the episodes discussed in this cast.
Send emails or MP3s to borgcast@gmail.com.
Or you can contact us via Twitter on rev_org or borgcastammo. #Borgcast.
Shut it down!
Bucket cops? Yeah, I've got to stop Phillips from doing the do!